Welcome back to another podcast with KJ. I'm so excited to be joined again at Zime. We are constantly living in a world of complaining. We really never take time to be grateful, complaining, we all do it, but do we really need it?
I think maybe let's say it depends on how you define complaining.
Yeah.
Ne? So when I think of complaining, let's say an example that I think of, if I have an issue with something that my mother has done,
Yeah.
and I come to you and I'm like, my mother did this. I'm not seeking counsel from you. I'm just coming to, for me, it sounds more like what you would say when you are, I come to you and say, okay, my mom does this, that. It's not because I'm coming to you saying, what should I do about it?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you for the sake of saying it. There's really no purpose around it or me trying to find a resolution. That's what I feel complaining is. I feel that it's different because some people will say, stop complaining. If you do something to me and I say, okay, James, you did X, Y, and Z. I don't appreciate it. It made me feel this way. That's not me complaining. That's me coming to you and vocalizing something that makes me unhappy or dissatisfied. Or maybe just me also trying to understand why you thought it was okay. Maybe I didn't understand your perspective. Because sometimes people say things to us and we take them a certain way and they genuinely didn't mean to hurt our feelings. So I feel like that's different. So based on my definition on how I understand complaining, I don't feel like we need it, in all honesty. Well, do we need to petition and vocalize our Lord? Even the Bible says, it says, be anxious for nothing, and in everything, with prayer and petition, bring things to God. So it's very specific. It doesn't say with complaining. And when you look, when it describes the children of Israel, that was a good example of complaining. Because when you complain, I feel like you lose sight of the things that you do have. You start complaining, being like, I'm wearing the same stuff, I'm eating the same food, I'm walking around in circles. It was better there. Now you're losing sight of everything else that is a blessing, as opposed to being like, Lord, like you took us out of Egypt where we were oppressed. Now we're finding ourselves in this desert and we feel like we're moving in circles. Like, why is it that we're in this position? Have we done something? Is there something we're supposed to be learning from this? That's different than them just complaining because then you move in circles. I feel like complaining in any kind of relationship, whether it's your friends, if you're constantly complaining, one, it will create distance between you and that person. Because if I'm constantly complaining, you like, I call you and you look at your phone and you're like, ish. Yeah, like you just like, like, and it's not because you're a bad friend. It's like, I get that you're going through this, but can you maybe sometimes just call me and be like, what do you think I should do about this? Like, let's strategize as friends. Yes, like, but if you're just telling me for the sake of telling me, and even if I try to give some kind of counsel to be like, do you think perhaps we should do this? You're like, no, but you don't understand. That's a good sentence that comes with complaining, where someone's like, but have you ever thought of it this way? And they're like, no, but you don't understand. And it's like, then make me understand, rather than just constantly going through this loop where you're telling me about why you're unhappy about this. Why, like, make me understand why that's a problem for you. If you say to me, like with the kids that we were, if you like, I feel like my parents don't listen to me, then my question is like, why do you feel that way? And I know it's a shrink kind of question, but I genuinely want to know, why do you feel that way? Because you telling me they don't listen to you is just a complaint. But once we start addressing it and you're open to addressing it, then we can figure it out. Oh no, when I try to speak to them, they're always busy with something. Have you tried to speak to them when they're not busy? Because if they're preoccupied, they can't give you the attention that you need for them to help you address whatever it is. Have you tried that? No. Okay, maybe when your parents are calm, or you guys are having breakfast and you're relaxed, or having dinner, whatever your family time is, like maybe address this. And if it's something that might bring conflict, then be all mindful of that situation as well. So I feel like for me, it doesn't feel necessary, because when I think of complaining, I don't feel like it's something that brings resolution.
What is the hard lesson that you have learned to be grateful?
I just grew up with so little that I was grateful for everything. I say, and I think I've said this to other people, where I'm like, I am so grateful for my mother. I was raised by a single parent. My mom never tried to be a mother and a father to me, which is something I'm grateful for. My mother was just the best mom she could possibly be, because there's no way she would have figured out how to be a father to me at the same time. She's not a father, she's a woman. But she was the best mother she could possibly be. And there are sacrifices that she made for us that now looking back, I'm like, I wish she hadn't, but I'm still grateful that she did, because I understand where she was coming from. So for me, it's the small things that make life bearable. Like what we were discussing when I was like, my childhood feels like it was great. It's because everything. I grew up with no TV. But thank you to the Lord, I had 3 sisters. We are very close in age. And we still make fun of each other because we were our own entertainment. What did that do now? It created an environment where we are close. Because we had no TV to watch, so we interact with each other. We didn't like going to play outside and things like that. So we would interact, we would have concerts and sing. It's one of my fondest memories, and I look back and I think, oh, this made us close. I grew up, once again, we didn't have TV, so it wasn't like we were watching TV until 10 p.m., then everyone's tired and we go sleep. So I grew up in a household where we prayed together. When I say pray, it was a full church service. Like we would sing, my sister, I think you know her, she sang in the worshiping, so she would lead and sing. My mother would pray, I'd read the Bible. Like it was a full-on service every single night. And that is one of the reasons, like it fosters your closeness to God. But I'm not naive to the fact that if I had the things that I thought I needed, I probably wouldn't have that. So yeah, for me it's just like realizing that the small things, and realizing that God is never going to put you in, I, for one, don't believe that God puts you in dark places. I feel like life, because of the way it is, puts you in dark places, and then God figures out a way of helping you grow in those environments. I don't feel like God's just like, think you should go to a dungeon now. I think those are just circumstances, and he finds a way to pull you through those situations. So I feel like sometimes you have, but he will not leave you, because I think God understands that we all need some semblance of hope. God didn't need, when Jesus got baptized, he didn't need to give visual confirmation. Like they're close, they're the same person. And yet he did that because he knew that you're about to move into a wilderness where you're going to be tested and tried. Sometimes you need something so God always gives us something small that helps you hold on to things. For me, it was the people in my life that, once again, gonna go back to the sense of community. The people who came into my life. I think a big part of the reason I'm a doctor is because the 2 males who came into my life were both doctors. And I grew up thinking I was the smartest human on the planet. Sometimes it wasn't great because looking back now, I'm like, how did that teacher not slap me across the face? Where I was like, no, you are wrong. You don't understand. Like, this is how it's supposed to be. But I was also very open to learning. It's just, I think we had differing opinions and stuff. And I was vocal about it because I was very sure that, no, I am sure that this is what, looking back now, I was wrong. She was right, I was wrong. No, it was literally a word. I was like, this word exists. And she was like, no, it doesn't. This is English class, that's slang, it doesn't. But yeah, the people I had in my life, and I'm always grateful for like Pastor and like his teachings, the way he taught. Like they helped me grow in the ministry. So for me, I don't know, your blessings look different as a person. For me, it's been the people that are in my life. Like those have been my biggest blessings. Everyone who's come into my life, whether they've come into my life, then left, like I feel like I'm the person I am because of them. And I always, because I tend to be anxious, I try to find the things that are good in situations so that I don't spiral. So I will look at a situation, I'm like, okay, this happened, and so that I don't feel depressed and feel like I wasted my time or things like that. I'm like, but what good came out of this? So I think I am very proud of myself with respect to that I'm very good at stepping back and being honest with myself. If I was wrong, I'm like, okay, I was wrong here. I'm in the circumstance because of the decisions I've made. It wasn't God. I took something that I thought was from God and I walked outside of his purpose. Granted, I've never done anything dramatic, but there are decisions where you look at like, I was walking in my own strength here. It wasn't, I'm good at being honest about that, but also looking at me and be like, but I'm grateful that God was still there to protect me and carry me through this, because it could have gone another way. Like, I've made some wacky decisions in my life. Granted, nothing big that anyone would judge me for or make me, but that could have like changed the trajectory of my life. But I'm grateful for, one, the people around me who'd be like, my mom's a fighter, she's a sweet lady when you look at it, but when she doesn't, she's like, no, I need you to explain to me why this is happening to my kid. She's that person. So there's circumstances where she's come, and that's why I'm so grateful for her. And so there's a lot of things that you just, for me, it's my people. I feel like you need to find the thing in your life that you are very honest, and you look at I think it also comes down to honesty, because you can't be grateful if you're not honest with yourself. If you think you can do all that by yourself, you look at yourself and you're like, I am self-made. If you can honestly and truly believe that, then I really can't say anything to that. But most of us can look at our lives and be like, if I'm being honest with myself, yes, I put in the work, but I needed certain pieces to fall into place for me to be where I am.
What's something that you enjoyed and got experienced every day that you wouldn't take for granted?
What? See, Shruti, I'm starting to realize I'm a people person. The fact that people answer their phones. I still come from a family, if you went through my phone, went through my texts, have no SMSs, went through WhatsApp, it's mostly logistical stuff, then went through my call log. People answer their phones. So just being able to, whenever I'm driving, have someone just drive home with me. Like, have someone I can speak to from because I drive close to an hour every day. So I'll listen to music and a podcast in the morning, but it's nice in the afternoon to catch up with people, have conversation, and just having people around me who aren't like, because I know a lot of people, especially this day and age, who are like, why on earth are you calling me? Whereas Mina, if I'm calling you, like my friend is like, sometimes I don't answer your call and I call you back later because I know when Zime is calling, we are having a conversation. So if I'm busy, there's no point in me answering because I'm not going to speak to you for 5 minutes. So that's something that I enjoy. I enjoy just being able to speak to you. I'm not on social media, so I don't want to be looking at your statuses, looking at your Instagram to know what's happening with you. I want to know from you, like, what's happening. That's something that I really don't take for granted. Oh, and also I have just that check-in. It used to frustrate me, but now I really enjoy it. Where someone calls you and they're like, did you eat? Something that basic. Like my grandmother will call me, did you eat? What did you eat? You shouldn't eat that. It's going to give you constipation. Like, she'll say stuff like that. And when she doesn't, I'm like, why hasn't she called me? Like, why isn't she checking in? So those things. So for me, my people, honestly, I think most of my answers are just going to be that, because that's the one thing I'm super grateful for.
Do you ever lose yourself in activity and ignore the rest of the world?
I do. I do. It's my introverted nature. Like, I can live and be happy all by myself. And then I wake up one day and now I'm feeling sad and depressed because I feel lonely, and I don't realize that, actually, girl, like, people have been inviting you, they've been speaking to you. So you see, that's where the balance is. I'm someone who's very much rooted in community. I appreciate that. But I'm also the annoying person who's like, I will call you between 4 and 6. After that, I'm no longer available. Then I isolate myself in those moments, not understanding that you need to also realize that not everyone is working on your schedule. So then I isolate myself. So for me, it's like just being at home. Like, I will watch TV and I'll get sucked in, because I do watch a lot of TV that will like pull me in. I think that's something that I've realized that I need to work on. Don't watch anything foul, but the things that I do enjoy, I'm that person who can binge watch a show. Like when I was watching, and I also don't watch things that make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because there's something I keep wanting to watch on the Angel Network. I'm like, I really want to watch this, but I don't think I could sit through it. So I'll watch The Chosen on repeat.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it, it's fun, it's nice and light. But there's certain shows where you should watch. There's a book I read once. I enjoy reading as well. But there's a book that I'm yet to get through, Redeeming Love. Now, everyone tells me it gets better as it continues, but those beginning parts are so traumatic that I can't sit through it. But when I get involved in something I enjoy, I can shut you out. I can sit in a room and read a book for the whole day, not even know what time it is, realize when I'm starting to feel tired, I'm like, wait, I'm hungry and tired now, what time is it? So yeah, I think it's because I'm so introverted that I enjoy being in my own space, that I can just watch TV or read a book and be okay with it. But I also am very aware that it's not healthy, because at the back end of that, when now I'm ready to emerge and I think everyone should be, yay, you finally ready to give us attention, and they're not, now I go into a depression and I feel lonely now. So yeah.
What do you find inspiration from?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I really listen to a lot of podcasts. And because I'm honest with what my issues are, most of those people that I listen to kind of have some focus on that. Like I enjoy Andrew Huberman. I understand he might not be for some people because he's a neuroscientist, but I like how he presents neuroscience in practical terms of how your brain works, why you find pleasure in the things you find pleasure in, why you fear certain things, what barriers you come across when trying to do something new. And like you listen to Jay Shetty, he's like very much, I was telling you, like he will listen to people. So a lot of people who come on his show, because of who they are, he gives them a space to just be who they are. So most of his guests are people in the mind and health space because of who he is. Sometimes he speaks to like celebrities and stuff like that, but that's not his core group of people. And even with then, he's directing the conversation to be like, okay, so how do you deal with this? Do you deal with that? So yeah, podcasts I find are very helpful. I also enjoy The Basement because I'm just like, he just has a great personality, and he also very practical with the Bible. Like it makes sense. I always say, because I have a childlike sense of wonder, when I read the Bible, like I see it as a movie, like it's a play, I'm imagining it happen. So he's also really good at helping you paint that picture. And like when he says, this is what the Bible says, it's not just me, so I really enjoy that as well. Then sometimes I listen to sermons, but that is more so directed at, sometimes you feel like you're going through something and there's a sermon series that touches you, and then I'll dwell on that. So that's where I find my inspiration. Once again, it's just finding people who are on a similar walk who can give you some kind of guidance with but I'm very mindful of what I allow to give me that guidance. I'm not gonna just watch. Yes, there's podcasts that I watch that are just funny, that I just enjoy, where it's just a group of friends having conversations, but it also has to be conversations that I understand. It can't be if they partying and clubbing, I'm not gonna relate to them. It's not a judgment thing. I'm not gonna enjoy your stories. So most of the podcasts that are groups, it's people who are friends and they just talking about their lives. They're funny, they have personalities, so you enjoy that. So yeah, that's where I find my inspiration mostly.
What's the best aspect of your personality that you're grateful for?
That's a tough one. Because I told you when I started I'm awkward, so. Oh, I think I would say being able to ease into myself once I feel safe. So for me, I'll feel awkward and I might not want to like interact with you too much, but I will not lie to you about who I am once I feel comfortable with you. And I won't lie to you about who I am, period, because when I feel uncomfortable with you, then I'm just not engaging. But once I'm comfortable, then I'm pretty much an open book. I'm like, I bear myself as I am. I'm like, take it or leave it. And I'm also really good at letting you leave it, kind of situations. I'm like, unfortunately, unless there's something specific that I agree with you, I'm like, maybe I should work on that. If you just like, I'm just not vibing with you, I'm like, okay, that's cool. We once weren't interacting, I was awkward around you, so we'll just go back to the default setting. So yeah, I think I like that about myself, but it's also something that frustrates me about people, because I will tell you something and people are so used to having to read between the lines that you find that someone interprets it differently. I'm like, but this is what I said, but I thought you said that. But no, I specifically, these are the words that came out of my mouth. And also knowing me as a person, why did your brain go there? So it's also a source of contention sometimes. I'm like, but I don't understand how, knowing everything you know about me and what I specifically said, you got that.
Do you believe that being grateful builds resilience?
Yes. Yes. We all know that once you lose hope, there's no way you can achieve or move forward towards anything. So I believe that how you get hope is by just being grateful. Like when you're able to look back, because, and I know, I'm fully aware that there are people who have had lives that, like, it's just so dark that you are really struggling to see how there could be any good that comes from it. But that's not a big percentage of people. And those people aren't going to be the people who are complaining because something dies in them and they don't even have the strength to complain at that point. The people who are complaining and are us who are like, everything is going relatively okay, but you aren't satisfied. And you
Or
don't.
sometimes you don't identify.
Yes. So being like, I feel like just having gratitude, being able to step back and be like, I'm not where I thought I would be at this point. Like so I have to do this quite often because when I turned 30, I had a moment where I was like, this is not the life I imagined. It's not. But when I look back and I'm honest with myself, I wouldn't have the life I have now if I had gotten the life I had imagined. Like the maths just wasn't aligning the timeline. I thought I'd be a mom at like 21. How would I have been able to achieve everything that God has used me for if I was a mom at 21? It was going to be significantly harder to do all those things. But once again, now I look back and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. And based on the person I am, the reason I'm saying it would have been harder because I know that I want to be involved. I want to be active. I want to know what's going on. I want to speak to you even when you don't want to speak to me because I'm like, it's bonding time now. I can't do that at the same time where I was going through school and I was in school for 8 years. Like, you can't be absent from your kid's life for 8 years. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So I would have been raising a kid who has abandonment issues now because I wasn't present. I will have a spouse who feels neglected because now the tiny human needs me to survive. You don't. You're an adult. So now when I'm trying to partition my time, I focus it on, it's either school. If I'm trying to take a step back from school, it's the little human or it's you. And I'm so family orientated that everything else would take it, like the career and all that would have taken a standstill. So I probably would not be the person I am because of that, because I wouldn't have prioritized everything I have. And perhaps God saw that with, okay, if this one gets all this, she's going to like this, she's going to chuck it out the window, she's going to be like, no, I'm not, this is my focus. So I just feel like, yeah, I don't know. Like there's a lot of things that I look back on and I'm just so grateful that God put me in a position where I didn't have a choice but to have to go through those things. There's a lot of walks that I've had and things I've gone through that I'm like, this made me truly a stronger human being. Because it's not always easy not to get your way. Like not getting your way isn't easier. But now I know for a fact, if you like, I know that if I truly want something, I can hunker down and make it happen. Like, God can work through me, and like, I know that I'm resilient. There's certain things that I haven't dealt with in my life that I don't know I'd be able to deal with. When I think of them, I'm like, when I look at my mom, the things she's gone through, I'm like, I don't think, when I turned 27, I was like, I don't think I could have handled this. I don't know how you made it through this, because I've never been through challenges like that. So I know I am not, like, I haven't developed that callus that you need. I went to a class, so I'm doing the wilderness series, and it was like, God will always put you in, like, allow you to go through a season because he needs you to be stronger when you get through it. He made an example of when he started lifting weights. He's like, I could only lift 80 kilograms, well, 80 pounds. I'm going to accidentally say kilograms because I don't use pounds. He's like, and that's all I could do. But with years and times, I could lift more. And then when people would say, we think you can do this based on everything else you've gone through, even if I didn't believe, just by obedience, I would try do it, and I would actually manage to do it. So I feel like being grateful of just, even when you're looking at that, just being able to identify those small steps to be like, oh, I just went from 80, then at some point I was at 125, then I went to 200. Like, you are able to identify your progress. If you are going into a dark space where you're not grateful for anything, because there's days that seem redundant. I work in the health profession, so something as simple as, we all say, I'm going to thank God for life. Yeah. But when you are in my profession and you are actually confronted by that every day, where you see people your age needing certain medical procedures, and you're like, why am I not grateful for my health? Like, this looks painful. And this person is going through it, and we're the same age. So, like, I think that's another thing for me that makes it more like those small things. When you see someone on oxygen and they cannot breathe, I think that, like, maybe that COVID ignited something in people where they're like, I've watched people not be able to take a breath. If you've never been confronted with that, you can't see that. So, yeah, just being able to, like, write, like, I don't do it because I just don't think I at this point in my life, I should, but I don't think I have the concentration. It's like meditating. When people meditate, my brain is so busy that I struggle to meditate. And when you're counting the number of hours I have in a day, I can't spend an hour struggling to meditate. There's other things, so I do it in other ways so that I just get that peace. But it's the same thing, writing a gratitude journals. I feel like it's something a lot of people can benefit from, but I've never been like a journaling kind of person. So I've never like sat down and wrote about, and I'm a girl, so when we were in primary school, people had books, but I was never that person who was writing anything down. Like, my younger sister loves writing letters. Like, so she would definitely journal if she got the opportunity to, but I know that based on just who I am, I don't. But it's something that I would say, if you don't journal, I just take a mental checklist of, don't do that. But if you know that you can't sit still and just be like, oh, like, I'm grateful that I'm just breathing. I'm grateful for my home. People will complain about interest rates, and I get it's frustrating. But is it not a nice problem to have, to be complaining about interest rates? Because it means you have stuff that God has blessed you with that would make you concerned about that. Whereas there's people, interest rates come, go, they're unemployed, don't have homes, don't have cars, really have no responsibility. So whether the interest rate goes up or it comes down, it becomes irrelevant to them. So would you rather be in that position where, or just be grateful? Yes, it could get better. We all want to be comfortable and not have to worry about that because you're so secure in everything you have. But just being able to be mindful to be like, yes, this isn't great, but I'm so grateful that this is something that yes, it's tough, but at least I have stuff that would make this a problem for me. Yeah, some people complain about their kids. There's people who don't have children. Have you thought of it that way? Would you rather not have them? Yes. So it's like, yes, you don't want your kids to be talking back at you, but your kids are alive, they're healthy, they don't do that. That's a modifiable behavior. You can work on that. There's people who don't have that problem. So rather than trying to figure out how you work on that, most of us just end up. So I just feel like perhaps a gratitude journal would help, so that you're very mindful. If your kids do something, you're like, I am grateful that he can walk. I am grateful that he's doing okay in school.
Okay, so talking about being grateful, you work in a medical state, right? You survived COVID. Like, you going through everything, like emotionally, like how did you deal with that?
I mean, like, guys, there is one of those situations where I'm like, it was Jesus, guys. I really want to say that. Because once again, going back to being grateful, when I look at COVID, I'm like, guys, being in the health profession meant that I didn't feel isolated and lonely because I still had to go to work, which means I still got the opportunity to interact with people. Whereas certain people, you were shut in and you weren't luntunjani. You weren't really like part of anyone. A lot of people felt unwell because you isolated, you can't leave your house. Guess what? I could leave the house. Like, my movements were in no shape or form restricted. And it's not because I was like in the streets, like, once again, because of my personality, all the things that were shut down were not an issue. I don't drink, I don't party, I don't smoke. So all those things that were off limits were not an issue. The thing that would have been a challenge for me is interacting with people. I knew I couldn't really come see my family because at that point my gran was the side, which also I'm so grateful for, because she had just come back from KZN. If lockdown had happened and she was by herself there, I would have gone nuts, not knowing what was happening. So she was here. As much as that did then mean I couldn't come home, I was just still grateful that she was with people. I always knew she was okay. So, but then I go to work, I see people at work, there's patients. Like, I was rotating through orthopedics, so it's just bones. Those patients are healthy, so they chatty, they're not super sick. Everyone was just, so I really didn't have that feeling of isolation, which I don't think I really have as much as I'm an introvert, like I said, then I start getting lonely and I feel depressed because now I'm lonely. I don't think I would have been able to handle a hard lockdown at home by myself with no interaction with anyone. I don't think I would have managed it. So that's how I got through. And then by the grace of God, I worked in COVID units. Like, I was in the COVID ward admitting people. Never had COVID. Like, now I have the flu and I'm like, what is this? Why do I have, like, I had the flu 2 weeks ago. I was like, what is this? Like, I never even coughed or had like anything. It's like even my allergies went away, but I think it was the mask, because now I wasn't inhaling pollen or anything because I always had a mask on. I wasn't sneezing. I was so healthy during COVID.